Hi everybody, a very good evening to all of you and this is the third session of Chat with K season 2 और आज के हमारे जो गेस्ट हैं वो बहुत ही ज़्यादा इंटरेस्टिंग गेस्ट हैं एंड अभी तक जितने भी मैंने एपिसोड्स किए हैं जितने भी सेशंस किए हैं उससे थोड़ा हटके होने वाला ये सेशन एंड आई विल टेल यू व्हाई। क्या होता है ना कि इट इज़ वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू बी एन आर्टिस्ट। एक आर्टिस्ट बनने के लिए चाहे वो राइटर हो, चाहे वो पेंटर हो, चाहे वो सिंगर हो, डांसर हो या कोई भी हो, अगर आप एक आर्टिस्टिक प्रोफेशन में जाते हैं कुछ करने के लिए, अपना नाम बनाने के लिए, तो वहां पे बहुत ही ज्यादा इनस्टेबिलिटी होती है और बहुत ही ज्यादा चैलेंजेस होते हैं। ऐसा नहीं है कि दूसरे प्रोफेशंस में नहीं होते हैं, दूसरे प्रोफेशंस में भी होते हैं, उनके अपने तरह के चैलेंजेस होते हैं, बट जब हम किसी क्रिएटिव प्रोफेशन में जाते हैं तो यहाँ पर अलग तरह के चैलेंजेस होते हैं। तो ऐसे ही एक आर्टिस्ट हमारे बीच में है जिन्होंने अपने लाइफ में बहुत सारे चैलेंजेस फेस किए हैं एंड यू नो बट स्टिल ही नेवर गेव अप ऑन इट and he is an author of 4 books which is great and I'm telling you this from the bottom of my heart because I am also a writer कि मैंने 2 किताबें लिखी हैं। एक किताब भी खत्म करना ना it's very you know जिसको बोलते हैं कि it's very deep process, इतना इजी नहीं होता है। उसके लिए एक चाहे वो बुक हो, चाहे आप अगर कह ले कि आप किसी ऐसी चीज की प्रैक्टिस कर रहे हैं जो यू नो लाइक सिंगिंग फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर आप में से कोई सिंगर है जो इस सेशन को सुन रहा है इस टाइम पे तो वो अंडरस्टैंड कर पाएगा। और बीट लाइक पेंटर, जैसे कि मैंने अभी बात की कि अगर कोई पेंटर है, अगर वो अपनी पेंटिंग को पहले से बेहतर बनाना चाह रहा है तो इट्स अ वेरी डीप प्रोसेस एंड इट्स अ वेरी टाइम कंज्यूमिंग प्रोसेस। इतना इजी नहीं होता है, एक आत्ममंथन चाहिए होता है, इसमें कॉन्सेंट्रेशन चाहिए होता है, फोकस चाहिए होता है। तो एक किताब भी जब हम फिनिश करते हैं ना, वो हमारे लिए एक माइलस्टोन क्लियर करने के बराबर होता है। And now you can imagine when I'm talking about writing one book, what is it to write 4 books in a row? So it's amazing, it's extraordinary to write 4 books and you know be a successful writer. So let's not waste our time, जो मैं हर सेशन में बोलती हूँ, पहले इतना सारा बकवास करती हूँ फिर ये बोलती हूँ लास्ट में। And welcome Matoof Khan, let me add him. I just sent him the invite. Hi.
Perfect. Hi, once again.
Hi, how are
Just
you?
increase
How are
the
you?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
I think you'll have to increase your volume because your volume is a little low now.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, it's just a little low. You'll have to.
Just
I think
give
it's
me a
fine.
moment. What I'll do, I'll just plug my earphones.
Cool. Perfect.
Yeah, just give me a moment.
Well, Soumya joined in, Burgess joined in, Savreen joined in. Hi guys. Okay, I hope you guys stick around. There's going to be an interesting conversation with Kritika, who
Am I
is
audible now?
also associated with my publishing house. No, I'm just saying hi to my followers who just joined in.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's better. Yeah, perfect.
Is it? Great.
Yeah, much better.
Great. Awesome. So, शुरू करें?
Yes, please.
So, first of all, a very basic question to you. क्योंकि जब भी मैं एक
I
सेशन
think
स्टार्ट करी तो ये जानना
वापस
बहुत
स्लो हो
जरूरी
गया
होता
है
है। फिर
वापस
से
स्लो
बोल।
हो गया है आपका.
Hello. Am I audible now?
It's a little low. You are audible, but your volume is low.
How to increase it?
One second. Let me just try this out. Media is full. Okay, I think it's fine. Perfect. Cool. Let's go ahead.
You can hear my words, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, let's start it because eventually आप ही बोलने वाले हैं. I'll just ask questions.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. First of all, I would like to ask you a very basic question which I ask everybody because I think it's very important to know this before we go ahead and get to know you better. So, how did you choose writing? Like, why writing and why not anything else? It's very unconventional, as I discuss it before as well. So it's an unconventional profession. कोई generally सोचता नहीं है सुबह मतलब कि मेरे को घर से निकल के राइटर बनना है, ये ऐसा थॉट किसी के दिमाग में आता नहीं है. So why writing?
Uh, I had already, I was actually working with my uncle right before writing happened. So I had worked with him for a good 1 year, and I realized that this is not for me. And sometimes, like when you have a lot of things going on in your head, and one day I just decided to like start journaling. So I was thinking about it yesterday only, like, there are times because I'm currently living alone at my house over here. So, you just get some time where you are sitting and wondering how it all started and where you are right now. So
Right.
it just like these journal entries, like I was typing on a certain notepad, and it went on and on for a while, and I suggested to somebody like, okay, I'm going to become a writer, and person replies saying that you don't have a creative bone in you. So why the hell are you? You are not a creative person.
Like someone literally said it on your face.
Yeah, somebody said it out loud, and I mean, I really respect that person, but there comes a moment where you go like, how dare you say something like this?
Yeah.
Chalo, abhi,
Yeah.
now I have to prove you wrong, and I mean, I kept on figuring things out, and one day I just decided to wake up and write a story. That's about it. That was just the start of it. Like,
Wow.
uh, it's got to do with the fact that अभी घुस गया हूँ इस चीज में, so there is no backing off because you know most of the things. I mean, like when you are from a joint family structure and when people are really established in your family, there's this ongoing thing that Matoof खुद को seriously नहीं लेता है, हम उसको क्या seriously लें. So
Oh.
I had to, at least for the first 2.5 years, which was like possibly the most difficult period of it all. That's when I started taking myself seriously. Writing, I mean, वो कहते हैं ना, वो एक जरिया था in a way that through it I was taking myself seriously, and it was the only plan A. That's it. I mean, I did not think of ulterior things, alternate ways of exploring a career. But when you have only plan A, you have to make it work. So
Right.
I just woke up one day, decided to write a story, and the rest of it was history. Because I mean, you finish one story, everybody can write one story, but can you write the second one?
Writing an entire
That is,
book. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, because like you have, for instance, if you're like if a person is about 25 years old, person has 25 years of an experience of their life. I'm not talking about they mastered a certain craft or anything of that sort. 20. So if you put it down on paper, there you have one book, but it's upon you to decide whether the book is worth publishing or not. So
Hmm.
uh, that's how it goes. Then challenges became more different. First book, second book, third book, fourth, now fifth. So it's like it did not the struggle. I mean, I wouldn't want to say only struggle. The growth period of mine as a writer didn't end with the first book. It's like an ongoing thing, and I started writing, but I that is what kept me going, focusing on what I have to keep. I mean, how am I going to be a better version at the end of the particular story that I'm currently working on? So it's not only a book that is being written, it's like a portion of my life or a version of myself that I have put across in a book. That ends, now I go searching for a different version of mine. So,
That's interesting, and I think that's amazing. And this is one quality that we need if we really want to grow in life. So you said when you started writing your first book, it was like you took it as a challenge that I have to do it
yeah,
no matter
yeah,
what. So what happens when we write a book and we finish a story? There comes a moment in our life when we always self-doubt. We doubt on ourselves. कि हमारी स्टोरी अच्छी है या नहीं है, कि किसी को पसंद आएगी या नहीं आएगी, ये प्रेशर हमारे ऊपर हमेशा रहता है. सो
Yeah.
द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज, कभी ये प्रेशर आया कि ये लिख तो दिया है, नाउ व्हाट, लाइक आर पीपल गोइंग टू लव इट, यू नो, एंड हाउ, इफ यस, तो कैसे डील किया इसके साथ में?
Uh, it might come as a surprise to you. That was not ever the problem for me.
Wow,
Like,
that's amazing.
for instance, because there are certain parts which have things that happened early on as in my career as a writer. Like, किसी ने somebody had told me, like a very established producer, director, he said that he, at the age of 23, he told me, he तू राइटर बनना चाहता है, लाइक हाँ, तो जो बीज तू आज बोएगा उसके फल तुझे 10 साल बाद मिलेंगे. सो
ट्रू, वेरी ट्रू.
मस्ती मजाक में मैंने बोल दिया हाँ हाँ देख लेंगे ना. सो नाउ आई एम कंप्लीटिंग ऑलमोस्ट 10 years of writing. Similarly, another person said that write a story that you want to read. So when I'm writing a story that I want to read, at the end of it, when the book gets complete, a person liking it or not, it is a bonus for me. And it comes in like, most people agree to it, most people don't agree with it, but that does not stop me from writing another story that I want to read, right? So, क्योंकि एंड में अगर आप कोई भी किताब उठाओ 300 पेज की हो 400 पेज की हो, इट इज अ सर्टेन पीरियड, लाइक वो 3 महीने का काम है मेरा. I mean, I've worked on it for 3 months. That is 90 days. Every night I have to be content with everything that I'm writing, because if I'm not content with the things that I'm writing about for those 90 days, बीच में ही छोड़ दूंगा मैं. So, where if I'm talking about my voice, if I'm talking about my signature style, if I'm talking about this is how I want my character to be, I'm living with that character, I'm creating that character in whichever manner that I am, I'm finishing the book, kitab khatam, agle din I start writing a new book, because the journey of the story is done. Rest of it Sanchit is going to do, because the rest of it, Sanchit is the publisher at Pepperscript. So rest of it he is going to do for me, because he's going to give me his first impression, the editor's going to give me their first impression, and I take it into account or I don't take it into account. It is completely on me, and that is part of the reason why we have such a good professional relationship, where my publisher tells me, you have your utmost creative liberty to किताब लिख, बेचना कैसे वो मैं बेचूंगा. That is he does. I don't interfere in the business end of things. He doesn't interfere in the creative end of things. Only thing he wants to lets me know is that, Matoof, your body of work has to be diverse. You can't write the same thing again and again, even if the subjects I catch could possibly be something which has been read before. But if it is something which is absolutely fresh for me, because during this entire period of writing book number 1 to book number 5, which is almost done. I mean, book number 5 is already done. Book number 6, which I'm releasing as my 5th book. During that entire period, I have gained that creative maturity, and I am becoming smarter every time I'm coming to the page. तो मेरा वर्जन अलग है, तो फिर वही मुझे एक्साइट कर रहा है. एंड अगेन, reader is something which is uncertain. I mean, you can't predict what the reader is going to feel or anything that they're going to like about the book. If I'm worried about that, मतलब मैं किताब कभी खत्म ही नहीं कर पाऊंगा, and I'll end up writing a book which is going to haunt me for the rest of my life, because I have written a book for somebody else, not for my own self.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, as you said, you did not find it intimidating when you actually finish your story, which is amazing, which doesn't come easy. Because I have spoken to a lot of writers, authors, and I have interviewed some. So, when we write a book, there is a process of writing the book. So when I talk to aspiring authors and aspiring writers, they always have this question, and they keep on asking me that. And I keep on asking every person I interview कि अगर कोई एस्पायरिंग राइटर है और वो किताब लिखना चाहता है, वेयर शुड ही और शी स्टार्ट फ्रॉम, कहाँ से शुरू करे एंड हाउ टू राइट अ बुक. वो पहला पता है क्या है ना, आई गाइड इट फ्रॉम माय एंड as much as I can.
One
Have
second. Electricity.
Yeah. Okay, there's a
Electric.
power cut. Okay, but
On,
you
I'll
are
have to
there,
go to
right?
the other room.
No,
Yeah, I
no
am
problem.
there. I'll have to go to the other room. I'm like in a remote place, so there's a lot of fluctuations that have been happening out here. One second. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So I guide them from my end, no problem. So but then जितने लोगों से मैं बात करती हूँ ना, उतने मुझे व्यूज मिलते हैं, उतने ओपिनियंस मिलते हैं, उतने पर्सपेक्टिव्स मिलते हैं, which I think is great. So I would like to ask you कि अगर कोई एस्पायरिंग राइटर है, वो कहाँ से शुरू करे, वो पहला शब्द जो उसे लिखना है वो कैसे लिखे, वहीं पर चैलेंज आता है, I think.
Uh, there's this thing which I often talk about is that आप दोस्तों के साथ बैठे हो, you have two people, you're talking about the ongoing of the day. Yeah, I woke up today, shit, I got late to the office, and you talk your entire routine from 10 to 6 o'clock. Okay, if you are not able to sit down and put down categorically what you've done from 10 to 6, it is going to be very difficult for you to become a writer.
Right.
Because if you want to be a writer, you're observational. You need to be very you need to observe everything around you. You need to observe exactly what you are doing from a day-to-day perspective. So now, if you're writing from 10 to 6 about what you've done from 10 to 6 the entire day, that is one chapter. Okay. You wake up the next morning, you write about what you have done from 10 to 6. You keep doing that again and again and again and again until you feel if it's repetitive. Abhi, that's where the critical point comes. You think it's repetitive, now you're going to go out exploring because you want to make it interesting. Because one of the, I mean, if you want to be a writer, another thing that my brother's friend had put up as a tweet. If you want to be a writer, you need to go out and live. You need to go out, live, experience life. You need to go explore things and come back down and write about it. Because now the interesting part about this is that you are the person who's going to be judging your work, and because you're not showing it to the world yet, the only time, I think that's a thing with everybody right now, the only time they want to show their works to somebody else is when they're confident that they're going to like it. And whereas the approach that I come from is that I will show my work to people who will come down and literally bash me. Tell me, Matoof, ये तूने क्या लिखा है? And to my luck or whatever good graces, that nobody has come and told me that. Either, and I'm certain that they're not afraid about my reaction to whatever the hell they're going to say. I would want somebody to be critical of my work, because that is what's going to help me grow. So when a person is aspiring to be a writer, they are very, reserved in a manner to criticism. And I feel that has been my biggest, searching for criticism has been my biggest goal, because I haven't received as much. Because if somebody's giving me constructive criticism, I am going to implement it in a manner that I'm going to think over it. Why did this person say this? Abhi, when you're aspiring to be a writer, either you're going to get disheartened by it, or you're going to wake up the next day and be like, okay, I might just want to do this, because you have starting points from your day to day. If I, by the end of this conversation, if I'm to sit down and categorically write down what I did the entire day, there I have 2,500 words. So, because I observe things, I am more clear and aware about how I'm feeling through the day. So, if I'm able to capture all of that, writing a story is, I mean, yes, it is a taxing job in a manner that writing it is easy, but keeping on writing it, that is when it becomes difficult. So, I think if anybody aspiring to be a writer, you need to understand that okay, ये जो चीज है वो 6 महीने का नहीं है. It is not a 6 month thing. You get into it. You need to have a. It becomes a lifestyle in a certain manner because if a person is not being able to see that, I mean, even if a person is doing a corporate job, it is a lifestyle. They have to prepare themselves mentally to work the hours, not like in खाने के बाद भाई मेरे को नींद आ रही है मैं सोने जा रहा हूँ टेबल पे बैठ के मैं सोने वाला हूँ. That is not how it goes. You need to train yourself in a certain way. Similarly, I have to train my brain in a specific manner to continue to write. So it is not a 6 month deal because, I mean, I'm sorry to say that I have met so many writers in the past 10 years. Hard, I mean, you wouldn't even believe not even 10% of them have continued to write.
Yes,
They,
I have met some as well in the
yeah.
past, not now. Yeah.
So 10% of, I mean, if I'm talking about 1,000 writers that I've met, not even 100 people have continued to write.
Yeah, I totally agree. Even I have met some who actually wanted to write, and I'm talking about like highly, professional people. I'm not talking about youngsters right now. So they wanted to write something, but they have not written as yet, and I'm talking about the year 2017, 2018. And now I look at them, they have still not written anything, and they wanted to write.
Yeah. So it's about like it comes. There's so many ideas that people can plant. They just can sit down and write. I mean, वो सक्सेस स्टोरीज बोलते रहते हैं. I mean, my family always, when I was possibly a young adult, they used to keep on telling me that you should do things in this manner, you should do things in that manner. A lot of people are going to say those things, but you find a way to make it work. And I mean, like for instance, if being you aren't able to remove time to write, I'm pretty sure a person can remove an hour to scribble something, or even 30 minutes in a day to scribble something. So that's where it starts. And then you you don't create a discipline from the first day. It's like a ongoing thing. I became disciplined with my writing uh, possibly during COVID. That is when I
Okay.
took it. I became a very disciplined writer from then because I knew what my creative peaks are. I knew at what time I'm at my creative best, and I know I'm only going to write 3 hours a day. That is the max that I can, because beyond 3 hours, anything that I attempt to write, it is going to be a piece of shit. I know it very well because my creative peak is 2.5 to 3 hours. Either I can continuously try to write for about 6, 7 hours, sit at the blank screen, or I do something else. And
Right.
when I'm writing for 3 hours, for 21 hours, I'm preparing myself to write. I
Hmm.
I am taking care of my physical health. I'm taking care of my mental health. I'm doing things which are therapeutic for me. I'm running a business at the same time. I'm doing everything just because I get to make those 3 hours my privilege of sitting down to write. It is not something that was handed to me. It is something which I need to nurture because I took almost 10 years to build this for my own self.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah.
That's great. I think there is a lot to learn from this concept. How to to write, and I think what you said, it really makes sense, and that's the reason why I asked this question to everybody, because I think this is how we can guide the future generation and the youngsters who actually want to write and be a writer
Yeah.
professionally. Yeah. So moving ahead, why writing and not anything else? Like, what else do you do basically? So are you
Uh,
a full-time writer, or do you also do some other stuff with writing?
I about 1.5 or almost 2 years ago started a baking business of mine, and
Oh,
like I was dealing with a lot of uh, anger issues. I was being anxious from time to time. So I just one day I mean, my brother, he used to run a cloud kitchen. I used to have my restaurant as well.
mm-hmm.
So these were all secondary sources for me to continue to write. I mean, I needed to create a channel of smoother income to continue to write because that is the primary goal of mine. And I'm going to find a way to do it anyhow. So I started baking brownies just as therapeutic thing. And one day, a friend of mine, she ate them and she's like, "These are possibly the best brownies I've ever eaten." Now, are you serious? Like, yeah. And, and I started, experimenting with things, perfecting the recipe. The recipe I had almost 2 years ago was very different from the recipe that I have right now.
Hmm.
So it's trial and error. Like the same thing I was telling you about. You get up, do the 10 to write about what you have done from 10 to 6 o'clock every day. You get up, keep doing that, and then you fix whatever you feel is lacking over here. So that is the same. I mean, those are the parallels that I drew between my writing as well as my baking. So it reached a point where people who have actually my clients who have actually tried the brownies, they are dazzled. They're like, we haven't had these kind of brownies in Bangalore. And if one person is saying it's all right, when you have everybody who's tasting those brownies saying that, you learn to believe it. So it's something which started as a very therapeutic thing, and I ended up creating a full-fledged business along with it
Oh,
because
nice. So, yeah, yeah, please continue.
uh, it's like when I'm not writing, I'm doing this. It's something which I wake up and look forward to do. So, I mean, uh, most people will not believe me when I say this. I get to do everything that I love. I've got to
Wow,
monetize everything that I love. And
wow. और क्या चाहिए लाइफ में?
exactly. So, uh, ऐसा नहीं है that it just got handed to me. I had to change a lot of things about my own self and my approach to a lot of things. So
Mhm.
I love to cook, so I ended up creating a business. चलो ये भी कर लेते हैं. I love to write. I love words. I love stories. So I ended up becoming a writer. I love to sing, so I go sing at karaoke bars every week. So
Yeah, I've seen some of your videos. You probably photos. You had this mic in your hand, and I was wondering, does he also sing or what? Like when we were working on the trailer. So when I was working
yeah,
on the trailer,
yeah.
so I actually was retrieving your videos from your account. So that's when I stalked you properly. So I saw
Yeah.
some of your photos with a mic in your hand. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
why
it's
I asked this
again,
question. Like, if you're not writing, what do you do?
I sing also. I recently, almost 1.5, 2 years ago, I got back into fitness. I'm trying to keep myself fit. I am trying to do a lot of things on a daily basis. I mean, it's all a part and parcel of the game because it's about, I mean, end में, what do we want? We want peaceful sleep. So I work to being every task that I pick up, I work to finishing it in a very satisfying manner so that like बिस्तर में लेटो 2 मिनट के अंदर नींद आ जाए बस. Not
ये
tiring
ये तो
myself, but
है, and ये तो है, and when we are doing that the stuff we like, it's very fulfilling and very satisfying by the end of the day.
Yep. And there have been a lot of things which have come up, like things which have tried to take me off the course of the entire writing aspect of it, things which have tried to take me off the course of my business angle of it. And I mean, singing is a passion. I mean, that is, like when you are doing certain things with a which you monetize, it always becomes an outcome based thing. Like you need to think of it in a manner that okay, this is what's done, and now then you have to be calculative in also what you're possibly going to do next.
Right.
So you need to have something which you do for yourself. And yes, writing is one of that. But I also know that every time I sit down to write, it is me getting into a zone like, okay, this, your thought can be better on this. This can get better like this. Because, I mean, वो क्या होता है बिगड़ जाते हैं लोग after doing a certain something. So I've become a very bigda hua writer in a manner that I want to make it in a specific way. It's as same as with the food. I want to make it in a specific way. So it's all about the process, about how it deeply engaging the process is. So I need to do something just for my own self, and that is the singing part of it. That is something which it's like train karo to you can any person can get into professional singing, and I do not want to do that because that is something for me. At the end of the week, I just need to go really scream my lungs out and come
Yeah.
back. That is all.
Yeah. Totally agree. Okay, Matu, a lot of people are not reading these days. They're just listening and watching. And
Yeah.
of course, I know that I'm talking about podcasts and reels and all that stuff. So I it makes me I'm a little concerned about the writing community per se. So I also want your opinion on this. Like if I think there is a lack of writing culture these days. The attention span has greatly reduced. People actually do not have the patience to read beat writing. So what do you
Yeah.
think where this thing is going to take writers and the reading both?
Uh, the most interesting part about this is like if a person actually tries to read, they will understand the benefits of it. Like if
Right.
people actually, it's like, you go to the gym and for the first 10 or 15 days, you just like, नहीं हो रहा है यार, body नहीं बन रही है मेरी. And then you end up giving up. And similarly, a person who does not have the patience to sit through a 300-page book or patience to about 250 pages, if they're not pushing if they are not of the opinion that it is going to get easier for them to grasp whatever's written over there or imaginative or use their imagination to picture whatever's written in the particular book, uh, it is not going to be a good thing. So for me as a writer, my job is to get them interested and
Hmm.
uh, not give them any matlab jagran like okay, the benefits of reading are this XYZ, benefits of reading are blah blah blah. I mean that because we have seen those videos where people are talking about the benefits of of reading, but people end up losing the interest midway. Their interest midway.
And not doing it
It's
again.
about the ones who want to read, they will read. The ones who
Yeah.
do not want to read, they might not. But if you take it down from the 1800s, if you take it down from the 1900s, you go up to 2000s,
Hmm.
the way of sharing stories is progressed. And I stick to writing novels because that is what I love to do. I have uh, had opportunities to jump ship, write screenplays. I've tried my hand at that also. Things worked out, things didn't work out. But I know I love to write novels. Similarly, a reader or a person who's getting all of consuming all of this fiction, they will have to choose which is the point they want to grasp their fiction from. It is a matter of concern for us because we've had the reading culture, but for a person who is about 15, 18 years old, now it is upon them how they grasp it. As a writer, my job is to showcase a story.
Right.
I'm giving you an opportunity to get consumed into a book. If you're not getting consumed into a book, I will find it difficult for you to explain, find it difficult for my own self to explain to you that what are the benefits of reading this book. But I will guarantee you that just give it a shot. You will find something. Because the way I see it, I mean, 25 pages. That is the bare minimum a person can do. Even if a person can't do 25 pages, person can do 10 pages. If a person does 10 pages, reads 10 pages in a day, that is approximately 30 to 45 minutes of time.
Absolutely.
You're sitting there.
Yeah.
You're sitting there with a book in front of you. And you tell yourself that I'm going to sit in front of this book for about 30, 45 minutes every day. Whatever is your reality, whatever is going on in the other room, whatever is going on at work, whatever is going on, it is going to go on nonetheless, even if you're participating in it or you're not going to participate in it.
Yeah.
If you sit down, put your ass down in front of the book for 45 minutes, I promise you that you are going to become a very calm human being. And 45 minutes of absolute cutout from everything in the modern age, that is luxury for a lot of people.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
So,
Now it has actually started becoming a luxury now.
yes. And अभी आपके ऊपर है, अगर आपको 999 का सब्सक्रिप्शन भर के वो लग्जरी ढूंढनी है, देख लो, वो आपके 45 मिनट्स हो जाएंगे पता नहीं कितने घंटे, और you can buy a book which is also for about 300 or 400, 500 rupees. But
Absolutely.
you will be cut out from a lot of things. You will give yourself a chance to imagine, and that is by far one of the most, I think that is something which a lot of people are lacking lately. Imagination.
True.
Because
True. Very true.
when you have something which is there put in a cinematic structure, if you are absorbed, I mean, I think podcasts are also a good way of audiobooks, and podcasts are also a good way of consuming data because you are listening to things and then you're picturing it in whatever your head. But reading, you create your own perception, and because you're, even though the book is written by me or by you, we have written our words, you are reading it in your own voice.
Yes.
So that in its own is a beautiful experience. But people get drawn to it, they do. They don't. As a writer, our job is to continue to write stories.
True.
Yeah.
As you just said, that there needs to be a reading culture for that. Like people
There
need
needs to
to
be.
start reading culture. Reading
Yeah.
culture. Yeah. So what, according to you, is a reading culture, and how are you contributing to it? You're writing,
Um,
that's the one way, but what are the other ways?
reading culture. Okay, I'll give you an example of my brother-in-law. He was born and brought up in Calcutta. So Calcutta,
Hmm.
he was born and brought up. So बचपन से ही उन्हें he's currently, I think, about his daughter. He's currently about 60, 55, 60. Okay. बचपन से ही सुबह उठ के you freshen up, you go for your walk, you come back at about 6:30, 7 o'clock. He used to sit down and read the newspaper.
Hmm.
Okay. Read the newspaper till 8 o'clock. Have breakfast, leave for school. That is something which he opted for at the age of 11 or 12. He
Wow.
reads the newspaper till date.
Whoa. Wow. Like,
So
trust me,
now,
this is an achievement, basically. Sticking it to it and doing it regularly and consistently, and until now, when you're like, for so many years. So it's amazing. It's beautiful.
and before sleeping,
Yeah.
he reads a novel.
Oh.
He reads a novel. He reads a book for about 45 minutes to an hour, shuts his night lamp, goes to sleep every day. So my question to you uh, is it impossible for a person at the age of 30 to do that? It's difficult, but is it impossible?
No, it's not. It is
It is easier for a
definitely difficult.
person,
Yeah.
it's easier for a kid at the age of 8 to do the same thing. So the instilling the reading culture or any kind of a culture, it starts at a very root age. I mean, it starts at a very young age. And if
Yeah.
you are getting up, if you are trying to instill a particular practice or a habit at my age or at the age of 31, it is a choice that you are making. So you have to balance out things in your normal day to day. So having that reading culture, it can be instilling a reading culture within our own self, within our own household or whatever the hell it is.
Mhm.
It becomes a difficult thing to do at a more mature age. You start at a young age. My niece, I had gone to Bombay lately. Her entire shelf is, I mean, I've never read Percy Jackson. And I haven't, she's reading Neil Gaiman. And
Wow.
I'm not talking about Neil Gaiman's American Gods and Norse mythology. She's reading the graveyard something of Neil Gaiman. I'm like, holy shit, this is so cool. She is
Yeah.
14 years old
Wow.
and she's got over 100 books in her bookshelf. And mind you, she started reading Harry Potter at the age of 5 because my sister wanted to instill the practice of reading for her. So now, when she's got the free time, she's sitting down either to read a book or watch anime. That is about it.
Hmm.
And anime, she only watches the anime whose manga she's. I think yeah, they have manga versions that you can read or graphic novels that you can read, go through. So it is interesting, and it starts at a very young age because I started. My English was broken, and that's part of the reason why everybody wondered that Madhav, you're not going to be a writer because your English is so messed up. So I started reading at the age of 21, and I remember the first book that I read. It was John Grisham's The Broker. That was the first
Mhm.
novel that I read. I don't remember anything about that novel, but I remember that's the first book that I read. Then I read Stephen King's Carrie. Then I read Stephen King's Insomnia. Then It, and the book that completely changed, the book that made me want to write a story was J.D. Salinger's Catcher in the Rye. So I started at 21, 22, and it becomes it will be easy at the age of 21, 22. It was very difficult for me to grasp a lot of things,
Hmm.
but for my niece, once she reaches the age of 21, 22, she'll be able to grasp things possibly 100 times better than I did because she has
Absolutely.
instilled that practice from a younger age.
Younger
So
age, right?
now, now again, it all comes down to choice because we can't force somebody to sit down and read. We can't force somebody to instill a habit or practice for their own selves. I mean, there are benefits and cons are the ones which are there in every goddamn thing that you try to consume. So it's about how aware you are about your own self, like
Hmm.
how much you allow yourself to get influenced by any written text. That's about it. So I guess that answers your question.
Absolutely, and it brings me to my next question, which is actually connected to this only. So, as you said, when I asked you about the reading culture, you said that your job is to write an interesting book so that when somebody reads it, uh, he actually wants to read it completely. So that's the first job, according to you. And then you said that this habit can be instilled in a, it's very it's amazing if somebody if if child gets this habit in him or her. So this happens at a very young age, like this habit comes in a person at a very young age. So if you're very
Yes,
young and you have started reading and writing, then it can take you places, Right. So coming back to the question of the reading culture again, so I think somewhere it is also if I talk about today's generation, which is Gen Z, and then future generation, which will be Gen Alpha. So if I talk about both these generations, I think this is our responsibility somewhere, which is also our responsibility, not completely our responsibility, but somewhere I think this is our responsibility to build this reading culture and you know help people stick with it. How can we do that? This is the question. Apart
Uh,
from what
whenever
the first step.
whenever it's a person's birthday, I
Yeah,
either give them a journal, a leather journal,
yeah,
or I give them a book.
yeah, I do the same.
And uh, I write letters to people. I've written a goddamn book on letters, but I write letters to people um, because sending an email is easy, but a letter has got a personal touch to it.
You
So
still write letters to people.
what I'm basically saying over here is that if you really want to help instill a certain habit or
Yeah.
have somebody intrigued by a particular habit of yours, you can talk about it for 5 minutes, or you just keep doing it in front of them, be it
Hmm.
somebody in the household or like my dad. I really had not paid much attention. Even my dad used to read the Nav Bharat Times every day. He still reads because मेरे घर पे 3 न्यूज़पेपर आते थे. One was the Urdu wala एक है, and one is Nav Bharat Times, and one is the Times of India.
Hmm.
My uncle used to read Times of India, and Economic Times. My aunt used to read the Urdu one, and my dad used to read the Nav Bharat Times. So everybody used to read newspaper. It still does read newspaper in my house. I didn't pick up the habit.
Hmm.
I mean, I didn't pick up the habit right until I voluntarily got intrigued by stories.
Right.
So it is also a trial and error. But what I also know is that if now I'm going, if I want to have my morning read, the best place for me to be is in front of my dad because he's not going to say anything to me. I'm not going to say anything to him. I'm going to sit down and read. So that space is always there. That space happens, and now it's upon how much a person is willing to absorb from whatever that space is create. I mean, people have adopted that habit of reading, and I mean, I'm only talking about newspapers here, but even when a particular Gen Z, I do not like that term. I do not know. I just do not like that term. So uh, lately, I have been happy that people. I mean, I'm the paperback guy. Okay, I still feel happy when a person is reading on a Kindle. I mean, I had this thing against Kindles for the longest time, but now
Yeah,
it has come down to
I still have it in my heart. I still have a grudge against Kindle.
yeah. So I look at the person who's reading a Kindle, and then I look at the person's face. Uh, 20 साल का है, चलेगा. So then if it's a 45-year-old guy, I'm like, paperbacks. It's because of you I'm running out of business, bro. So that it is even my headspace changes accordingly, but it really is also. I mean, if you look at a certain spectrum of things, you look at a certain sect of things. Yes, there are people who do not read,
Yeah.
but there are people who read also,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
uh, either we try to lift up the ones who don't read, or we can always put our thought to them, or we keep on enabling the ones who actually read because that's where I mean, we're living in a time where everything is based on quick, everything needs to be quick. So, like Sanchit and I, uh, we got into this one particular discussion with each other that my previous novel, my fourth book was 400 pages. So we were talking
Whoa,
about,
wow.
yeah. Now the thing is that deep down, I know the story is worth those 400 pages. Sanchit also knows that the story is worth 400 pages, but while releasing it, it felt like a very ambitious project because a not many people are willing to get invested in that.
Hmm.
But then again, you have somebody reading a Lord of the Rings. Then you have
Right.
somebody reading the entire Game of Thrones series. So
Absolutely.
a good Stephen King book is easily 500 pages. So I'm not talking about comparing. I'm talking about if there is an audience willing to grasp material which is heavy, grasp materials in a material not heavy, grasp a book which is long. They are willing to get themselves invest in a particular storyline like that. 400 pages is for that audience, and they're
Right.
still going to read it out in possibly 2 or 3 weeks at the tops. And
Hmm.
now, as a writer, how I would want to function if a person does not have that long attention span. I create a book which is smaller. So I ended up writing
Yeah.
Letters to K, which is 95 pages, which is a collection of 26 letters. So if I want my content to be consumed by somebody, because again, reading is a very important practice, but also what is important is taking the good kind of fiction that is available in the market. And
Right.
if I know somebody is drawn towards audio formats of fiction, I opened a channel and I started my own podcast.
Hmm.
Because again, that is, even though I've written Letters to K came out after my first season of the podcast, and the first season of my podcast was Letters to K. So I have it available on two forums. Similarly, if I want somebody to consume my story, a good story, in a cinematic structure, I will have to play my cards accordingly that I'm putting across a story in XYZ manner.
Right. Right.
Abhi, where reading is the concern, uh, as a habit, man, it has benefited me in such amazing ways. Similarly, what has also helped me is grasping good content on podcasts. What has helped me is watching the correct documentaries, watching the good kind of fiction that is going to get me drawn, something which is always going to have a positive influence in the way I'm going to think, or even if it's a kind of a dark series or a thriller, it is going to help broaden my understanding of concepts of psychology.
Right.
So
Absolutely. I agree.
you have a humongous amount of uh, stories out there in whichever formats
Yeah.
they are. Like reading is my preferred one, but there are others also. If somebody is actually consuming it for them, you need, as writers, we need to have the bandwidth to appeal to those people rather than try to influence them in any way,
Right.
because that is what's more important. And देखेंगे जो होना है, because I'm pretty sure that in the next 5 years or so, people are going to get more drawn towards the reading format of things because screen time is so high.
Hmm.
They are listening to music while commuting. They don't want to listen to any goddamn thing anymore. They just want somebody just. There are people who just want to sit in a corner and take a book and just shut down and
Yeah.
possibly, and that's where the hope lies.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Coming back to my last question for the day, um, and for this session, uh, tell me about your books. You have written four amazing books,
Yeah.
and I'm saying amazing. I have not read any of your books, but I will definitely. But I definitely scrolled through them before this session, and I read the summary part of it, and I was very intrigued. That's why I'm asking this question to you. Tell me about your books.
Uh, have you heard of the band Pink Floyd?
Yes, yes, yes. I have.
So, uh, Pink Floyd is the band which saved my life. And
Oh.
now, the most beautiful thing about Pink Floyd's music is you need to listen to the entire album from the first song till the last song because the beauty lies in the transitions from one song to another.
Yeah.
And similarly, uh, I didn't notice this right until I released Amber, which is my fourth book. That to completely understand my growth as a writer, people have to start from book number one because it was a very, I mean, Sanchit says it out loud very often. Sierra, which is the book, my debut
Which is your
novel.
first book? Yeah.
Yeah, Sierra was way ahead of its time because I was exploring some hard-hitting subjects, but what I was doing it with a lot of innocence inside of me, and everything that was wrong with Sierra, without me even trying to, I ended up perfecting it in Untamed. Untamed is it took about 2.5 years to write and 4 years to release that book. And
Oh,
the challenge was again, like I told you in the start, you can write the first book, but can you write the second book? That is where the fun challenge
that
lies.
that's the
So
fun. That's where the fun part begins.
yeah, that's where the fun part begins because it took me about 23 drafts to understand what the story has to be. So I
Wow.
was writing about 15,000 words, deleting 15,000 words, deleting, and I reached a saturation point where I was looking for inspiration everywhere, and then I realized that uh, I am the biggest, best subject to write about. So, Untamed is from one of the most difficult periods in my life,
Hmm.
and it is going to be my. I mean, I have promised Sanchit a certain number of books, and out of them all, Untamed is going to be my masterpiece because even though it's a little towards the earlier side of my career as a novelist, even though if it's a little still my second book, I know what I had to do to write that book. Like the, I mean, that's where the artist was born, to be honest, because of the entire journey I had to take with myself and all the research that I had to do to make sure what Untamed doesn't have to be, and all of the emotions that I had to come to terms with and things that I had to let go of to write that particular book. I mean, I remember sending it across to Sanchit, 150 pages of A4 pages. Okay.
Hmm.
He read first 7 pages and he's like, I'm mind blown in 7 pages because it was, I if a person read it, they knew how real it is.
Hmm.
And so it is going to be my masterpiece. And Untamed is, uh, I mean, we argued a lot for that title, and then eventually we settled with it. Then then COVID happened. I mean, the book's release was uh, postponed by a year because of COVID. So
Hmm.
during that 1 year's time when I was just sitting and doing nothing, when I was building the discipline to become a writer, to be the novelist that I am, that's when I ended up writing about 200 letters, 160 letters, out of which about 50 were letters which were addressed to one particular character named K, who was inspired by a real person. So,
Oh.
like journaling has been a habit which has been there for a very long time, since possibly the start of my career. But being subconsciously aware that you're addressing a letter to somebody, that's where things become more real. And I address letters to K, which I compiled into my novel. my compilation of letters, and then came Amber, which is another. It's about my time spent in Udaipur. So uh, that's got to do with a lot of stories with that have I have interacted with a lot of travelers, and that so every of these books, all of these four books, they are once in a lifetime journeys that I have taken. I mean, the journey ends when the book, uh, at the conclusion of the book, starts a new journey. And now, during this entire process, from book number one to now book number six, which is going to be my fifth book, uh, I have grown as a human being, and I've become a better version of myself, a healthier version of myself, because there's been a lot of reflection, a lot of things that I had to confront by my own self. And there was no better place for me to do that than on paper. So it was that internal dialogue which created this journey. So what you will see in CRE is very much different from what you're going to see in Amber. And what you're going to read in the next book is going to be very different from what you're going to be reading in Amber. So I am growing as a person, and I'm looking at who I am in this particular moment, and I'm writing it from the person that I am right now. And I think by the time I reach the final book that I've promised Sanchit, uh, I think Sanchit said it very well. You're creating your own metaverse, and I'm like, okay, that's nice. Multiverse, not metaverse. Sorry, you're creating your own dimension. It's just like everything. Because I told him the one-liners of the stories that are happening, and he's like, I can't believe that you've thought this through. And like, I have to, because you wake up one morning and you realize that there's something far bigger than what you had started off to do. Because and that's the fun of it. That's like the challenging part about it. I mean, you wake up, you need to be excited to write about something, or uh, because you're going to be the only person who's going to live with it for a very long time, and everybody else is just going to make a choice of whether they pick it up or not.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's really, it's so beautiful the way you look at things, and the way you're actually, जिसको बोलते हैं कि आप आत्ममंथन कर रहे हो अपने books के through, and you're actually evolving through them. It's so beautiful. I will definitely read all your books. I haven't, but I have to now.
Yes. I'm really
So
looking
it
forward
was
to reading yours also, because
best version.
because now I have decided to get more frequent with Indian authors, because by I have dwelled too deep into all the classics. I'm like, bus, just give it a break. So now I'm going to explore Indian authors. Firstly, the ones that I know of, and then explore others. So I'm really, really looking forward to your works. And I'm so glad that
I
we did
will,
this though,
yeah, yeah. And
because we've
I'm
been
just wondering
associated
why we
with
never got a
the
chance to
same.
do this before.
Yeah, we've been associated with the same publishing house,
Same
and I was
publisher for
sitting and
so long.
wondering,
Yeah.
why didn't this idea come through?
And I think it has to happen to Sanchit only.
Yes, I'm really glad it
So
did. Yes.
when you said you were discussing, you had a fight with Sanjit or argument with Sanjit on certain things, and you were discussing your titles. Even I do the same with him. Even when we were writing the best version of, yeah, it was best version of you before, and
Yeah.
we gave it a thought, a lot of thought, and eventually we put it like the best version of me instead of you. We actually did it me, because eventually it was a self-help fiction. So हमें लगा
Yeah.
कि if अगर ये नॉन फिक्शन होती ना तो इसका नाम होता द बेस्ट वर्जन ऑफ यू. तो इनिशियली नाम बेस्ट वर्जन ऑफ यू ही था, बाद में वो चेंज कर दिया, एंड इवेंचुअली द बुक केम आउट एज बेस्ट वर्जन ऑफ मी ओनली फॉर वन रीजन, बिकॉज इट वाज फिक्शन. एंड even now I'm working on my third book. I discussed the title with Sanchit, and I remember I was in front of a metro station. I just came back from Hoskas and
Hmm.
I was on a call with Sanjit and we spoke for half an hour, 45 minutes. And like, I can totally relate to what you were saying.
We've had our good, I mean, we've had a healthy discussions
Yeah,
where, see, it is uh, part of the reason why I get to do what I do is because I've got a very supportive publisher. So it is something which matters a lot towards the end of the day because, I mean, for instance, if a person is continuously going to be telling you that, "Arey bro, kitab ka hai, ye, wo," they're just going to be continuously up your ass about a lot of things. You aren't going to be in that headspace ki likhna. I mean, just let me write. So
hmm.
we keep it. We have the understanding where he has the assurance that उसको किताब मिलने वाली है. कब मिलने वाली है पता नहीं. He's got first drafts of the 3 books kept with him. We
Hmm.
were releasing a book where when I told him that ki, not now. Let's not do this now. I have another story that I want to do. He's like, okay, ठीक है. So you have somebody that's supportive. You don't really worry about what happens next. You just focused on the goal of writing that particular story towards take it up towards the end, and that's what matters. And
Absolutely.
that's that's where we are at the moment in this, where people just want to remove work out of you, but then when you have somebody who is just like, you work as you want, you just
Yes,
make sure you give me the
totally.
final product.
Yes, you know, I after best version came my second book in January 2020 before COVID. It was
Yeah,
Perspective Shorts. It was an anthology. The name was Perspective Short Stories of Seeing Things Differently. COVID के बाद मैंने कोई book लिखी नहीं. I was on a book break. I
yeah,
was not in that zone basically. It was a
huh,
different zone for me. And then after COVID, like now, you know, Sanchit, used to keep pushing me. लिखो लिखो क्यों नहीं लिख रही हो when are your next book coming. So this year I finally decided कि अब तो लिखनी ही है and I just started writing this year. So I told him कि ठीक है लिख रही हूँ. Now I have started. अच्छा, he has started now. Good. So you know, the point is he is very supportive and it is very fulfilling and satisfying when you have someone with you. And you know, cherry on the cake, he's your publisher.
exactly.
Yeah.
That is the most amazing part about it. So
Yes,
देखते हैं अभी
absolutely, absolutely.
बहुत गुल खिलाने हैं
हाँ, मुझे भी.
because it's got to do. I mean, I think I have this patent dialogue, patent caption with regard whenever I'm introducing my next working title. It's like, I'm just getting started. He's like, bhai, you're just getting
Nice.
started, bro. Bro, 4 किताब लिख चुका है यार. You're still getting started. What the hell is this? So it's wonderful. Yeah.
It was lovely talking to you, Mathu, and
I hope you
very
like the
soon I
answers
will
to your
invite you
questions.
for my YouTube channel as well. Very soon.
Looking forward to this.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I will definitely read your books and you read mine, and we'll give feedback to each other.
I would love to do that. Yes.
Okay, thank you so
Sure.
much for coming
Good
here
night.
on Chat with
Thank
Kay.
you for
Good
having me.
night, bye bye. And if anybody wants to read his book, the books are available on Amazon, right?
Yes, they are all on Amazon. And okay, somebody has Rimi Dhar had
Yeah, Rimi
asked a question.
asked for a
Please
book
recommend a
recommendation.
book,
Yes,
period
Rimi is a very dear
fiction.
friend of mine. Uh,
So,
in fact, before your show, I did a live with her only.
wow. So,
Yeah.
there's this book which you should definitely check out. Uh, I think it's possibly my favorite piece of fiction. Is called East of Eden by John Steinbeck. And it is a book which changed my perspective about fiction because it is about the downfall of Adam and Eve and the rivalry between Cain and Abel. But the only difference is that this is written in the period of 1930. So it's a beautiful book. You need to read it and you will understand the true beauty of fiction in it.
And there is this one student of mine, Pranjal, who जिसने लिखा है मैडम जी राधे राधे, तो राधे राधे आपको भी प्रांजल, how are you?
Perfect. Chalo, Kritika,
I think.
I will
Yeah.
drop off.
Yes, absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye bye. Good night, and all the best. I was about to say all the book.
You too.
All the best for your upcoming book. Bye.